Good evening. You're watching Florida Criminal Law TV. My name is Stephen G. Cobb, your host. I've been hosting Florida Criminal Law now since the late 1990s, and we're answering viewer and user questions about my favorite subject, Florida criminal law. So let's roll on into the next one. The next one is something I've unfortunately run into multiple times in my career, and this is in the category of people who think they're saving money and making things easy because hiring a lawyer is expensive and they can handle it themselves. And this is the question, and by the way, I have been asked this question for decades. I've been asked this question repeatedly, so I'm glad we're covering it today. And this is what it is. I paid a ticket for a minor in possession charge 3 years ago. Now, first of all, no, you did not pay a ticket. A ticket is an infraction that is civil in nature and does not require a court appearance where you could be sentenced to jail. With minor in possession, if you're given a criminal summons notice to appear, sometimes they will cutely put a rights waiver form on the back, make it look like it's no big deal to just pay a fine, and you won't have to go to court. And people would eat that up. And then I'd get a call, and I'd get an email, something like this. I paid a ticket for a minor in possession 3 years ago, but now when employers run a background check, they say I have criminal history for a substance abuse problem. That's a lie. I don't have a substance abuse problem. That's not true. I was never charged with substance abuse. What do I do? Well, what you do is you contact a lawyer, step one. Number two, you realize you've screwed up badly. Number three, depending upon how the case was handled, that determines what's going to happen with dealing with that. If adjudication was withheld, then we can do a record seal, but cannot do a record expunction. This is why you do not handle even minor crimes by yourself, because you don't know what you don't know. Since you don't know what you don't know, that's why you don't have the knowledge. And even if you did, knowledge is not power. We live in a culture where people believe knowledge is power. No, it's not. Action based upon correct knowledge is very powerful. And so once we get more background about what's going on in this particular case, if it turns out the person was not convicted, meaning they were not adjudicated guilty, then we can look at a record seal. And it has to be sealed 10 years before it's expunged. Those nice law enforcement officers who arrested this person and gave them a ticket instead of taking them to jail, and conveniently on the back of the ticket it tells you how not to go to court and you can save money, and they tell you you don't need a lawyer. They're setting you up for this person's exact experience, where they find that they're not getting the job offers when they graduate university or college that they thought they would get. They're at the top of their class, and yet people in the what's generously called the middle third are getting better job offers and at higher pay, and then finally they get a job and they don't get the pay they're expecting, and their career seems to be stymied. It's because they have unexpunged criminal history where they've done something like this person did, and they signed a plea agreement without realizing fully that they were signing a plea agreement on a criminal case because they thought it was just a ticket. And now they're in a position where for the last 2, 3, or more years, internet information has been accumulating. And what's the employer do that they're not supposed to do? They stick that person's name in Google, and guess what shows up as the #1 ranking? Not their LinkedIn profile. What shows up is their arrest for a substance abuse problem, and the employer doesn't want to hire a druggie. Well, none of that's true. Someone had a minor in possession charge while they were on vacation, while on spring break, before final exams. And yet, when it shows up later, it's blown up into something it's not. So the answer to the question is, first of all, be proactive. Stephen Covey wrote a great book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I highly recommend it. You want to be proactive, and if you are given a notice to appear in court, or you can just sign the handy-dandy form and you won't have to go to court or hire a lawyer, you really need to talk to a lawyer, because you do not want to be in a position where you're experiencing a lifetime earnings loss of over $250,000, $500,000 because of criminal history for a substance abuse problem that you really don't even have. You were just having fun on spring break.